the Golden Owl Podcast.
Speak better, fly higher.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Golden Owl Podcast. I am Daniel Torres, and as always, I am here with my wonderful co-host, Maya Powell.
Hi everyone! So happy to be here today. This is actually one of my favorite episodes we have done so far, and we have not even started yet.
That is exactly how I feel. So Maya, do you want to tell everyone what we are talking about today?
Yes. Okay, so today we are talking about astrology. And before anyone turns this off because they think it is not for them, please stay, because we are not here to tell you that Mercury is in retrograde and that is why your coffee tasted bad this morning.
Although that is actually a valid reason.
Daniel, stop it! Okay, so we are asking a really big question today. Can astrology actually tell you who you are? And we went out and we found out, so that is what this episode is all about.
I love it. And look, I want to say right at the start that I came into astrology as a complete disbeliever. Like, I used to roll my eyes when people talked about star signs. I was that person.
You were absolutely that person. I remember when I first mentioned my birth chart to you, and you looked at me like I had just said something from another planet.
I did. I'm not going to lie. But something changed for me, and I want to talk about that today because now I genuinely think there is something really interesting here. Even if you are a skeptic, there is value in exploring this.
That is such a good way to put it, and for me, it was different. I got into astrology when I was about 17. My friend showed me my birth chart, and I just remember reading the description and thinking, how does this piece of paper know me better than most people do?
That moment, yes, that is the moment a lot of people have with astrology. And that's kind of where we want to start today, because before we get into all the fun stuff, the signs, the planets, the compatibility, all of it, we want to make sure everyone understands what astrology actually is, because there's a big difference between what most people think it is and what it actually is.
Huge difference. Okay, so most people, when they hear astrology, they think of their horoscope. You know, the little paragraph you read in a magazine or online. Something like, this week is a good week for Scorpios to take risks, or Capricorns should watch their finances in July.
Right, and those are fun. I'm not going to say they're not fun, but that's like the very surface level of a very deep ocean.
Perfect description. So real astrology, the kind that's been practiced for thousands of years, is actually a system. It's a way of reading the sky at the exact moment and place you were born and using that information to understand your personality, your patterns, your strengths, and the areas in your life where you might face challenges.
And when you think about it like that, it sounds a lot more serious, right? Like, this is not just a fun little personality quiz. This is something that civilizations have studied for thousands of years. Ancient Greeks, Egyptians, Chinese, Indian cultures, they all had their own forms of astrology.
And they did not develop it because they were bored. They developed it because they noticed patterns. They noticed that certain things in the sky seemed to connect with certain things happening on Earth. And they started recording those patterns. And over thousands of years, a really rich system developed.
What I find fascinating is that when you look at the history of astrology, it wasn't separate from science back then. Like, astronomers and astrologers were often the same people. The study of the sky included both the physical movements of the planets and the meaning behind those movements.
That is so true, and I think that's something people forget. They say, oh, astrology is not scientific, as if that automatically makes it worthless. But science and meaning are not the same thing. You can have something that's deeply meaningful and deeply useful without it being a laboratory experiment.
Exactly. And that's kind of the spirit we want to bring to this whole episode. Open minds, curious hearts, and no judgment.
I love that. No judgment. Okay, so now that we know what astrology actually is, let's get into the part that I think confuses most people, even people who are already a little bit into astrology.
The big three.
The big three, yes. So most people know their sun sign. That's the one you get from your birthday. I was born on the 15th of November, so I'm a Scorpio. Daniel, what's your sun sign?
I'm a Capricorn, born on the 30th of December.
Classic Capricorn, by the way. Very driven, a little bit serious sometimes, but also surprisingly funny once you get to know them.
I'll take that. Thank you.
So, your sun sign is determined just by the date of your birthday, and that is what most people mean when they say, I am a Leo, or I am a Gemini, or whatever. But your sun sign is actually only one piece of the picture, and honestly, in many ways, it is not even the most important piece.
This is the part that surprised me the most when I started learning about astrology, because I always felt like my Capricorn description was accurate in some ways, but it missed a lot. Like there were things about me that just did not seem very Capricorn at all, and that used to make me doubt the whole thing.
And that is so common. So many people say, I read my sign and it does not feel right. And the reason for that is because you are not just your sun sign. You are also your moon sign and your rising sign. And together, these three are called the big three, and they give a much more complete picture of who you are.
So let us break them down. The sun sign, which everyone knows, represents your core identity. It's basically the essence of who you are at your center, your values, your ego, the way you see yourself.
Think of it as the main character you're playing in this life. Like if you were a book, the sun sign would be the genre and the main theme of the story.
I really like that. And then the moon sign is about your emotional world. It's determined by where the moon was in the sky at the moment you were born. And this one is a lot more personal and a lot more private. It's how you feel things, how you process emotions, what makes you feel safe and comfortable.
The moon sign is the part of you that not everyone sees. It's the inner you, the you that comes out when you're at home with people you really trust.
What is your moon sign, Maya?
I am a Pisces moon, which makes a lot of sense actually, because I'm very emotional and very sensitive, probably more than people expect from a Scorpio. I feel things really deeply, and I think that is very Pisces moon energy.
And I'm a Virgo moon, which again, once I learned that, suddenly a lot of things clicked for me, because I'm very analytical about my emotions. Like I process feelings in my head before I process them in my heart. I need to understand why I feel something before I can actually feel it.
That is so Virgo moon. Okay, and then the third one is the rising sign, which is also called the ascendant. And this one is determined by what part of the sky was rising on the horizon at the exact moment and location you were born. So to find your rising sign, you need your exact birth time, not just your birthday.
And the rising sign is about how you appear to the world. It's basically the first impression you give people. It's your social mask, but not in a fake way. More like the energy you naturally put out when you're meeting new people or entering a new room.
I am a Cancer rising, and people always say that when they first meet me, I seem very warm and nurturing and a little bit shy, and that is very Cancer. But once they get to know me, they see the Scorpio and the Pisces, and things get a lot more intense.
And I'm a Leo rising, which is funny because I think people expect me to be very loud and confident when they meet me, and I can be, but then they discover the Capricorn and the Virgo moon underneath and they realize there's a lot more going on.
This is why knowing all three is so important, because when you put them together, you get something that feels genuinely personal, like it's describing you specifically, not just a general type.
And that's really the magic of astrology, isn't it? It takes something as vast as the sky and uses it to reflect something as specific as you. And when you find your big three and read about all of them together, it often feels like reading something that someone who knows you very well wrote about you.
Exactly. And just to make it practical for everyone listening, if you want to find your big three, all you need is your date of birth, your place of birth, and your exact time of birth. There are lots of free websites and apps where you can calculate it instantly.
And we really recommend doing it before or after this episode, because a lot of what we're going to talk about next is going to make a lot more sense once you know your own signs.
Okay, so now that we know about the big three, I want to do something fun, because I think the best way to understand astrology is not just to read about it, but to actually talk about the signs themselves, all 12 of them.
Yes, let's do a little tour.
A little tour of the Zodiac. Okay, so there are 12 signs, and they are divided into 4 groups based on elements. You have fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and water signs, and each element gives the signs in that group a certain kind of energy.
The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And fire signs are exactly what they sound like. They're passionate, energetic, enthusiastic, and they love to take action. They're the ones who start things. They walk into a room and you feel their energy immediately.
I have so many friends who are fire signs, and they're honestly exhausting in the best way possible. Like they're always excited about something new, always starting a new project or planning a new adventure.
The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And earth signs are the grounded ones. They are practical, reliable, patient, and they are really good at building things that last. They are the ones who finish what the fire signs start.
That is such a perfect way to put it. Earth signs are the ones you call when you need help actually getting something done, not just dreaming about it, but doing it.
As a Capricorn, I feel very seen right now.
You should. Okay, the air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Air signs are the thinkers and the communicators. They are curious, social, intellectual, and they love ideas. They can see many different sides of a situation, and they are usually very good at connecting with people.
Air signs are the ones who can talk about anything with anyone. They have this incredible ability to adapt and to find common ground with almost every kind of person.
And then the water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And water signs are the emotional ones. They are intuitive, sensitive, deeply feeling, and they have this incredible ability to understand what other people are going through without being told.
Water signs feel things on a level that other signs sometimes do not understand. And that can be really beautiful, but it can also be really challenging because the world is not always kind to people who feel so deeply.
As a Scorpio, I can confirm that is 100% true. We feel everything very deeply and we remember it forever.
Scorpios are famous for that.
We prefer the word loyal.
Fair enough. Okay, so within those 4 elements, we have the 12 signs. Let us go through them quickly, and I want us to both share our honest impressions because I think that is more fun than just reading a description.
Okay, let's do it. Starting from the beginning, Aries. First sign of the zodiac, the baby of the zodiac, some people say, born between late March and mid-April.
Aries people are brave, and they go first. They do not wait for permission. They see something they want, and they go for it, sometimes without thinking too much about the consequences. But you have to respect that energy.
My friend Sarah is an Aries, and she once quit her job on a Monday and had a new one by Thursday, just because she felt like it was time to move on.
That is the most Aries story I have ever heard.
Completely true. Then we have Taurus, mid-April to mid-May, the sign of the bull.
Taurus people are incredibly loyal and incredibly stubborn in equal measure. They love beautiful things, good food, comfort, and stability. Once they decide something, nothing is moving them.
My dad is a Taurus, and he has had the same favorite restaurant for 20 years. He goes there every Friday without fail.
Classic Taurus. Then Gemini, mid-May to mid-June, the twins.
Okay, I know Geminis get a bad reputation online. Everyone makes jokes about Geminis being two-faced or unpredictable, but I actually think Geminis are one of the most interesting signs because they contain these beautiful contradictions. They can be quiet and loud, serious and silly, all in the same conversation.
They're just big personalities, and yes, they can change their minds quickly, but that is also because they are always learning and updating their view of the world. I think that's actually a strength.
Agreed. Then we have Cancer, late June to late July, the sign of the crab.
Cancer people are the most nurturing people you will ever meet. They are deeply caring and deeply loyal to the people they love. Home and family mean everything to them. But if you hurt someone they love, they will not forget it.
The crab shell is real. They are soft on the inside, but they protect themselves very carefully. You have to earn a Cancer's trust, but once you do, they are the most devoted friend or partner you can have.
Then Leo, late July to late August, my rising sign, and honestly one of my favorite signs to be around.
You would say that.
No, I genuinely mean it. Leos have this incredible warmth. They make you feel special just by talking to you. They are generous, creative, and yes, they love attention, but they also give attention back in equal measure. People think Leos are all about themselves, but the Leos I know are actually incredibly giving.
That is a really good point. Then Virgo, late August to late September, my moon sign.
Virgo people are brilliant. They notice everything. They are the most detail-oriented sign in the Zodiac, and they have incredibly high standards, for themselves more than anyone else. They're always trying to improve things.
Virgos are the people who proofread their text messages before sending them.
That is painfully accurate.
And they show love through acts of service. Like if a Virgo loves you, they will help you move house, they will research the best doctor for you, they will remember every detail you ever mentioned to them.
Best people to have in your corner. Then Libra, late September to late October. The scales.
Libra people are charming and diplomatic, and they genuinely care about fairness and balance. They hate conflict, which sometimes means they avoid difficult conversations, but their hearts are always in the right place. They want everyone to feel okay.
And they have incredible taste. Almost every Libra I know has a beautiful home or dresses really well or has some kind of deep appreciation for beauty and aesthetics.
Then Scorpio, mid-October to mid-November. My sign.
How do you describe yourself, Maya?
Deeply loyal, deeply intense. I love with everything I have and I expect the same back. I am very perceptive, sometimes uncomfortably so. I notice things about people that they did not intend to show. And I do hold grudges, I am not going to lie. But it comes from a place of caring very deeply.
Scorpios are also one of the most transformative signs. Like, they go through big changes in life and they come out stronger every time.
That is very true. We are not afraid of going deep. Then we have Sagittarius, late November to late December.
Sagittarius people are the adventurers. They love freedom, they love learning, they love traveling, they love meeting new people from different walks of life. They are incredibly optimistic, and they believe that something better is always just around the corner.
The most spontaneous sign. If someone invites a Sagittarius on a last-minute trip to another country, they are already packing.
100%. Then Capricorn, late December to mid-January. My sign.
Okay, I get to describe you now.
Go ahead.
Capricorn people are incredibly hardworking, like almost to a fault. They set goals and they do not stop until they reach them. They're mature and responsible. Sometimes they seem older than they are. But underneath all of that seriousness, there is actually a really dry and funny sense of humor that not everyone gets to see.
That is very accurate, and I appreciate that you included the humor part.
I always acknowledge the humor. Then Aquarius, mid-January to mid-February.
Aquarius is the visionary. They think ahead of their time. They are deeply interested in ideas that can change the world. They care about communities and about people as a whole. They are a little unconventional, and they do not follow rules just because the rules are there.
Every person I have met who is an Aquarius has something about them that is a little different from everyone else. Like they march to their own rhythm, and they are completely fine with that.
And then finally, Pisces, mid-February to mid-March.
The last sign, the dreamers. Pisces people are incredibly imaginative and compassionate. They absorb the feelings of everyone around them almost like a sponge. They are artistic, spiritual, and they see beauty in places other people miss.
Pisces are the most empathetic sign. They feel what other people feel, sometimes more than those people feel it themselves.
It is a gift, and also sometimes it's really hard. But Pisces people have this beautiful ability to create art and music and stories that make other people feel understood.
And with that, we have been through all 12. What a beautiful little tour.
It really is beautiful when you look at them all together because you realize that every single sign has something that is genuinely needed in this world. Like the Zodiac is not ranking people. It's saying that different energies all have a purpose.
That is one of the things I love most about astrology, actually. It doesn't say one type of person is better than another. It says every type has gifts and every type has challenges. And understanding both is how you grow.
And that brings us very naturally to something that so many people ask about when it comes to astrology, something that is honestly one of the most interesting parts.
Relationships.
Relationships, yes. Because once you know the signs, the next question everyone asks is, which signs go together? Who is compatible with who? And this is where things get really personal and really fascinating.
I think compatibility is something people are almost afraid to ask about because it feels very definitive. Like if someone tells you that your sign and your partner's sign are not compatible, it can feel scary.
But it's really not like that at all. Compatibility in astrology is not a yes or no answer. It's more like a map. It shows you where the natural harmony is and where the natural tension might be. And tension is not always a bad thing. Sometimes tension is what makes a relationship interesting.
Okay, so let's talk about how compatibility actually works, because it's not just about sun signs. Again, your whole chart matters, but as a starting point, the elements are a really useful tool.
In general, signs of the same element tend to understand each other very naturally. So fire and fire, earth and earth, air and air, water and water. They share a similar energy, similar values, similar ways of seeing the world.
Fire signs understand each other's passion and ambition. Earth signs understand each other's need for stability and reliability. Air signs can talk for hours without running out of things to say. And water signs can share an emotional depth that other signs sometimes cannot match.
But same element connections can also sometimes be too similar. Like two fire signs together can be incredible, but they can also clash because they both want to lead and they both want to go first.
And then there are the complementary connections, which are often the most interesting ones. Fire and air tend to work really well together because air feeds fire. Air signs fuel fire signs with new ideas and inspiration, and fire signs give air signs the confidence to actually go and do something with those ideas.
I love that. And earth and water work beautifully together. Water nourishes earth, and earth gives water somewhere to be held and contained. So earth signs provide the stability that water signs need, and water signs bring the emotional depth and warmth that earth signs sometimes hold back.
And then there are the challenging combinations. Fire and water, earth and air. These can be really good relationships, but they require more understanding and more compromise. Fire and water can either create a beautiful steam or they can put each other out. It depends entirely on how much both people are willing to grow.
I actually think some of the most powerful relationships I've seen are between opposite signs, because there is an attraction there that is very hard to explain. They are different enough to fascinate each other, but similar enough to understand each other on a deep level.
What is the opposite sign to Scorpio?
Taurus. And honestly, some of the best people I have had in my life have been Tauruses. There is something about that Taurus groundedness and reliability that balances out Scorpio intensity really well.
And Capricorn's opposite is Cancer, which also makes a lot of sense, because Capricorns can sometimes get so focused on work and goals that they forget to take care of themselves emotionally. And Cancer energy is all about that warmth and emotional care that Capricorn needs.
See, this is why compatibility is so interesting. It is not about finding someone exactly like you. Sometimes it is about finding someone who has the things you are still developing in yourself.
And that is such a healthy way to look at relationships in general. Not looking for your perfect twin, but looking for someone whose energy complements yours. Someone who challenges you to grow while also making you feel safe.
And I think astrology is actually a really beautiful tool for that, because when you understand someone's chart, not just their sun sign, but their whole picture, you start to understand why they are the way they are, why they respond to things the way they do, and that understanding builds so much patience and compassion.
It gives you a language, that's what I think. It gives you a way to talk about personality and emotions and needs in a way that feels less personal and less threatening. Like, instead of saying, you are always so distant and cold, you can say, you have a lot of earth energy and I have a lot of water energy. And I think we're experiencing that tension right now.
And suddenly the conversation is completely different because you're not attacking the person, you are describing a pattern, and patterns can be worked with.
That's exactly what I mean. Astrology at its best is a tool for empathy. It's a way of saying, I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to see the world through your lens for a moment.
So we've talked about what astrology is, we've met all 12 signs, we've explored compatibility and relationships, and now we need to come back to the big question, the one we promised at the very beginning of this episode.
Can astrology actually tell you who you are?
Can it? And I want to be honest here, because I think this is where the conversation gets really interesting, because there are people who believe in astrology completely, and there are people who think it is total nonsense, and I don't think either of those positions is the whole truth.
I think about this a lot, actually, because I came from the skeptic side. And what changed my mind wasn't some dramatic moment where astrology predicted something perfectly. It was much more quiet than that.
Tell me.
It was when I read my full birth chart for the first time. Not just my sun sign, the whole thing.
And I sat there reading it and I just kept thinking, how does this describe me so accurately? Like, not in a vague way that could apply to anyone, in a very specific way. The way I process emotions through my Virgo moon, the way I present myself through my Leo rising, the way my Capricorn core is always pushing me towards something, always building toward a goal. All of it together painted a picture of me that felt genuinely true.
And that is the experience so many people have. And I think that experience matters. Even if you cannot prove it in a laboratory, the fact that millions of people across thousands of years have found something meaningful and useful in this system is not nothing.
There's a concept in psychology called self-knowledge. The idea that understanding yourself, your patterns, your tendencies, your emotional habits, is one of the most valuable things you can develop. And I think astrology is one path toward that self-knowledge. Not the only path, but a valid one.
There are other paths too. Therapy, meditation, journaling, personality systems like the ones you might find in psychology. All of these are tools that help you understand yourself better, and astrology is in that family of tools for a lot of people.
And the really interesting thing is that astrology does not just tell you your strengths, it also tells you your challenges. And that is where it gets genuinely useful, because knowing your challenges is just as important as knowing your gifts.
Every sign has what astrologers call shadow traits, the less comfortable side of the sign's energy, and reading about your shadow traits honestly can be a little uncomfortable.
What are your Scorpio shadow traits, Maya, if you don't mind me asking?
I do not mind. Scorpios can be possessive. We can be jealous. We can hold grudges for a very long time. We can become obsessive about things and people that matter to us. And we can be secretive in ways that are not always healthy.
That took courage to say.
It is true, though. And the thing is, when I read about those traits, I don't feel judged by them. I feel understood, because I already knew those things about myself on some level. Astrology just gave me a clear and honest mirror. And once you see yourself clearly in the mirror, you can actually do something about what you see.
That is such a powerful point. And for me, as a Capricorn, my shadow traits are things like being too focused on work at the expense of everything else, being emotionally unavailable sometimes because I am so in my head, setting such high standards for myself and others that nothing ever feels good enough.
And those are real things, but knowing them gives you power over them. You cannot work on something you cannot name.
Exactly. So is astrology telling you who you are? I think my answer is yes, partly. It is one lens, a really rich and detailed lens, but a lens.
I think of it as a map, and a map is not the territory. The map does not show every single thing about you, but a good map helps you navigate. It shows you where the mountains are and where the smooth roads are and where you might want to be careful.
And the thing about astrology is that it is not fixed. Like, it doesn't say, you are a Scorpio, therefore this is your destiny and nothing can change it. It says, here are your natural tendencies. Here is your default way of moving through the world. And then it's up to you what you do with that.
Astrology gives you the starting point. You write the rest of the story yourself.
I think that's the most important thing we have said today.
It really is. And I think that's why astrology has survived for thousands of years across so many different cultures, because it touches something that is deeply human, the desire to know yourself, the desire to understand why you are the way you are, the desire to feel like your existence has some kind of shape and meaning.
And we all have that desire, whether we admit it or not.
Whether we read our horoscope every morning or we have never looked up our birth chart in our life, we all want to understand ourselves. We all want to feel seen.
And maybe that is the real answer to the question. Can astrology tell you who you are? Maybe the better question is, does astrology help you see yourself more clearly? And for a lot of people, myself included now, the answer is yes.
Yes. And I want to add one more thing before we wrap up, because I think this is really important. Astrology is not an excuse. That is something I feel strongly about.
Say more.
I have seen people use their sign as a reason not to grow. Like, I cannot help it. I am a Scorpio. I am always going to be jealous. Or, I'm a Capricorn. I'm just not an emotional person. That is just who I am. And I think that completely misses the point of astrology.
completely.
Astrology shows you your patterns, but you are always bigger than your patterns. The whole point of understanding your chart is so that you can work with your energy, not hide behind it. A Scorpio who understands their jealousy can choose to respond differently. A Capricorn who understands their emotional walls can choose to take them down, slowly, one brick at a time.
That is beautifully put. Astrology as a tool for growth, not an excuse for staying the same.
Exactly. Use the map to go somewhere new.
I love that. Okay, so let us close out today by sharing one thing that astrology has genuinely taught each of us about ourselves, something personal that we can leave the listeners with.
I'll go first. Astrology taught me that my intensity is not a flaw. For most of my life, I felt like I was too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too deep. And learning about Scorpio and Pisces moon helped me understand that those things are actually my greatest strengths when I direct them in the right way. My depth is a gift. I just had to stop apologizing for it.
That is beautiful. For me, astrology taught me that rest is not weakness. As a Capricorn, I was always pushing, always working toward the next thing, always feeling like if I stopped, I would fall behind. And then I read about my Virgo moon, and I understood that part of me was anxious all the time because I was never giving myself space to just be. And that realization honestly changed the way I approach my days. I rest now, without guilt, and everything actually gets better because of it.
That is so important. Rest is productive, Daniel. I have been telling you this for ages.
You have. And astrology helped me actually hear it. So there you go. Sometimes you need the stars to tell you what the people in your life have been saying all along.
Honestly, that might be the most relatable thing you have ever said. Okay, everyone, that is our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed this little journey through the stars with us.
If you haven't looked up your birth chart yet, please do it. All you need is your date, place, and time of birth. And if you discover something interesting about your big three, come and tell us. We love hearing from you.
And if this episode made you feel seen or made you think about yourself in a new way, that is everything we could hope for. That is exactly why we make this show.
Until next time, keep asking big questions, keep exploring, and keep being exactly who you are. Because the world needs your specific energy, whoever you are and whatever your sign.
See you next time, Golden Owl family. Take care of yourselves.